I just think this is one of those compounds that if it went mainstream, it'd be everywhere like semaglutide. What is up, everyone? It's Roos. I hope everyone is doing well. Roll out of bed for this PEDucation. ASMR sub 1907water.com. Keep on code Russo. ASMR Spritz Intelligent Elephant Hydrogen. Still can't get it, but there's your noises. Welcome back to PEDucation, everyone's favorite peptide, Melanotan, and the successor, which is Melanotan 2. This was developed around 1980 by the University of Arizona, and I mean, tinfoil hat Russo here, oh boy. You know, this did not see the light of day with the amount of money in the tanning industry. This could definitely be a giant disruptor if this ever broke out of the biohacking sphere into the mainstream, because simply it was an injection. Right. When I messed around with Melanotan about 4 years ago, I was injecting before I went to the wave pool, and I thought, like, wow, you know, this is this revolutionary peptide that has been shown in certain studies to have anti-cancer properties. And overall, when you think about it, like, if I would do a little bit of Melanotan before going in the tanning bed, I could overall be less exposed in the tanning bed for more tanning, thus reducing the amount of the time I'm in the bed, which is cancerous. That was great. But then I'm like, yeah, no one wants to inject this peptide all the time. I'm going to talk about the side effects, but overall, I think what stopped it from like breaking out into the mainstream was the injectable administration. Well, Amino Asylum and other companies, right? My sponsor Amino Asylum has made nasal sprays, including Melanotan 2. Not anyone can shoot this up their nose and have great bioavailability. There's like zero oral bioavailability, so the nasal spray comes in clutch, removes the need for needles, and you're getting all the benefits of Melanotan by doing the alternative administration pathway. So this changes the game. I think Melanotan 2 will break out more. I don't see why not. Things to think about with Melanotan, at least me personally, is that it makes me incredibly nauseous. I remember one time going to the wave pool, I injected Melanotan, and I literally was on the verge of pulling over and puking before I got to the wave pool, and that dosage was not very big. So I would definitely start really low and titrate up to see what you can tolerate. That's the biggest side effect I noticed. The other side effect, and the original reason why Melanotan was being pushed in science, was actually for sexual arousal for females, I believe, but for males it gives very, very hard, almost painful, could be too painful erections depending on the dosings, and the erections don't go down. So I had one instance of that where my erection wouldn't go down. It wasn't, you know, ultra painful or anything, but my dosage wasn't that high, and that was just something to note. Those are the side effects I've had. I wanted to talk about hyperpigmentation of the skin, as well as just some things about Melanotan that you should know. I feel like, number one, the hyperpigmentation isn't the same across the board, meaning with certain skin types, probably my skin type, right, I'm pale, is that it could cause spots, right? I 100% think it could cause spots. Would these spots go away? Most likely. That's just something to note. Another thing to note is that if you're like me, super pasty, I'd probably put on a base tan before running Melanotan. Thus, I'm not going to look orange or a weird color or anything like that. I would definitely start tanning, then add in the Melanotan as the gasoline on the fire, and then, like, once the Melanotan's added, you really don't even have to tan anymore. Keep that in mind. Another thing is, if there are females watching and they use Melanotan, I wouldn't use Melanotan and then go get a bunch of skin work done. I wouldn't get any sort of esthetician work done. All that shit could interfere with your melanin being out of control. Remember, you're hyper-stimulating melanin, and you're basically completely hyperstimulating the cells on the skin. I definitely wouldn't use creams or anything to interfere with that, and it would be, you know, one of those things where I wouldn't want to see woman do it. Woman gets amazing results, goes to an esthetician's redoing her face, and now she comes out with different pigmented spots the way the skin got cleaned. Don't want that. I don't know if those go away. I've heard about that, and yeah, just something to keep in the note. let's talk about melanotan abuse. So I'll have Andrew, my editor, throw up a picture of Big Lenny. So Big Lenny eventually, turned himself black with melanotan 2. I just want to throw that out there, that there is an extreme abuse. I don't know how long it would take for Big Lenny to go back to his normal skin tone. I would also say that we don't know the long-term data of using that much melanotan. Obviously, I personally think it's pretty safe and effective, besides the nausea and possible skin discolorations depending on the individual skin tone for spots and stuff. But if you're pushing the limits with melanotan, which I don't know why you really would, but when I go to bodybuilding competitions, I ask oh, did you get a spray tan? No, I just use a shit ton of melanotan too. And it's just oh, so that's your real skin that's hyperpigmented from a drug that you ever stimulated for who knows how long. Overall, I just think this is one of those compounds that if it went mainstream, it'd be everywhere like semaglutide. I don't think it'll ever get there. I forget why it was stopped in research. I think there was a cancer thing. I'll have Andrew throw up. But it has also been shown to have anti-cancer effects. I believe the one cancer study, and I'm pulling it out of my derped up head, is that it did make sense. I don't think it made sense in the way that if you were to go out in the sun for the same amount of time to get the same amount of tan, it would be the same risk. I don't think it was very conclusive, but originally this was being used as a libido medication for women, so that was the main push for it. And then they noticed it did that, right? And they noticed it did the tanning thing. It broke out on the underground. Melanotan 2 is here on the underground to stay. I don't think we'll ever see melanotan being in the sense of oh, it's semaglutide, where your freaking grandma knows about semaglutide and, your whole extended family knows about semaglutide. They're asking you questions about it. I think melanotan 2 has the same universal, holy shit, this could derail the tanning industry and all this shit, and everyone would know about it. Everyone would be tan all the time, and it would solve a lot of tanning addictions. Because, to put in perspective, I could go in the bed with 10 minutes, change no color, and then I go in the bed with 10 minutes with melanotan 2, change significant color. If I'm not on melanotan, oh, now I gotta push to 20 minutes. I could sit there with 10 minutes with melanotan 2 and keep tanning myself at probably a higher speed. Is that I'd rather not sit in the bed for 20 minutes and raise my cancer risk than just sit in the bed for 10 minutes with melanotan. That's where I see it shining in the public. Do I ever see it hitting mainstream? Since it hasn't hit mainstream already, no, there's no movement for it to become I always wanted to see it disrupt the tanning industry. I remember when I first found out about it, I'm oh my goodness, the tanning industry's doomed if this gets out to the public. I didn't think it was, based on, when I first messed around with it, injecting it, I was nauseous and I was puking almost, and my erections were super painful for a couple of times where I overdosed it. But with the nasal sprays, makes it hard to overdose, makes it very, very convenient. You can do it right before you go to the beach or right before you go tanning, and it's just universal. There's no needles involved, there's no weirdness involved. I could see that, really blowing up melanotan, but that's my experience with it. Please comment yours down below. I will see you guys in my next video.